Hello everyone, are you about to sit your SCE 1095 Math PT? We got you sorted. Be around till the end so you don't miss out on any of the methods and skills like expressing in percentages, decimals and ratios, fractions, rounding and evaluating, and getting markup and profit and interest among others needed for good performance in your PT. Check below the video and click the like, subscribe, share and allow notifications button for good learning material on our channel. Pause the video at any time and try out and put your thoughts in the comment sections below. What do you think about number 1? Change these fractions to percent, 4 over 5 and 2 over 6. Part A, to express as a percent, we multiply by 100%. That is 4 over 5 times 100%, giving 4 times 100% over 5, then divide through by the common factor in the numerator and denominator and you arrive at 80%. Part B, to express as a percent, multiply by 100. So when you divide the numerator and denominator by a common factor 2, then you arrive at 100 over 3, which is 33.33%. What are your thoughts on number 2? Change the decimals to percentages. A 3.46 and B 0.081. For part A, we first express as a fraction, and that is 346 over 100 because the number of zeros equal to the number of decimal places. Next, we convert to percentage by multiplying by 100%, and we have 346%. Part B, first express as a fraction, and that is 81 over 1000 because the decimal places are 3, therefore 3 zeros. And convert to percentage by multiplying by 100, then the 100 cancels out in both the numerator and denominator and you end with 8.1%. What are your thoughts on number 3? Change the percentages to fractions in lowest terms. A 55%, B 40 and a quarter percent. A, we make it out of 100, that is 55 over 100, and you divide through the numerator and denominator by a common factor, that is 5, and we end at 11 over 20, and that is in the lowest terms because it has no common divisor. Part B, 40 and a quarter percent, we first express as an improper fraction by multiplying 4 times 40 plus 1, then we have 61 over 4. As a fraction is out of 100, so we have divide by 100 and that makes it 161 over 400, and that is the lowest terms because there is no common divisor between the numerator and denominator. What do you think about number 4? Express as decimals. A 27%, B 63.4%. A, we have 27 over 100 because it's a percent, then the decimal moves that same number of times as the number of zeros in the denominator and we end with 0.27. Then part B, we divide by 10 because it has one decimal place, then divide by 100 because it's a percent, so we have 634 over 1000. Then the decimal moves 3 decimal places because there are 3 zeros. How would you solve and round to the nearest 100? 25% of 652 and B 28 2 over 3 of 480. A percent is always out of 100, so we have 25 over 100 times 652 because of the word of. Then we have 25 times 652 over 100. Divide both numerator and denominator by a common factor 4 and 25 respectively, and we have 163.00 to 2 decimal places. Then part B, we first convert to an improper fraction by multiplying 3 times 28 plus 2, then we have 86 over 3. That's a percent of 480 that we divide by 100 and we multiply by 480. Then we reduce by common factors 3, 10 and 2 and we arrive at 688.00 to 2 decimal places. In evaluating, we find the value of, that means that 65% of which is 595, and part B, a percentage of 64 which is equivalent to 12. What do you do? Introduce an unknown, for example x, then 65%, that gives 65 over 100 times x equal to 595. Multiply both sides by 100, then you get 65x equal to 59,500. Divide 65 on both sides and you have x equal to 915.38. Then part B, the percentage of 64 which is equivalent to 12. Introduce an unknown y, then y percent of 64 equal to 12, then divide by 100 because it's a percent, then multiply both sides by the denominator to remove it, then you have 64y equal to 1200 and you divide both sides by 64, then you have y as 18.75. How do you get percents from ratios? A 250 to 450, then B 3.5 to 63. The word 2 means over, therefore we have 250 over 450 times 100% because you're converting to percent. Then use a common divisor to divide through the numerator and denominator, and you arrive at 500 over 9. Use long division to divide 500 by 9, and use divide, multiply, subtract, bring down repeatedly, and you arrive at 55.55 recurring because the process repeats itself often. Part B, we have 3.5 over 63 because of the word 2. Then multiply by 100% because you're converting to percentage. Then you arrive at 350 divided by 63. Use long division there and use the divide, multiply, subtract, bring down method very often until you arrive at 5.55 recurring. The process repeats itself forever. That is why you have a recurring. You are going to complete that table, which is having cost, labor, operating expenses, selling price and profit and loss, and percentage profit or loss. Begin by finding the total cost of goods, that is, you add the cost plus labor plus operating expenses. Then the profit is selling price minus the total cost which you got earlier. That gives 52.02 shillings in the first case, but it is negative, therefore it is a loss. The loss is 52.02. Then the percentage loss is loss over selling price times 100%, that gives 52.02 divided by 1299.98 times 100%, and that gives 4%. Part B, the total cost, we add the cost plus labor plus operating expenses, getting 3,401.5 shillings. The profit amount is selling price minus total cost, which gives us 1,050. Since it is positive, then it is a profit. And the percentage profit is profit over selling price times 100%, giving us 23.59%. Just insert those figures into the table and you will have completed the table. In number 9, you're also completing that table, which has cost, sales, markup, and percent of markup. What is markup? Markup is selling price minus cost. Therefore, we have 172 shillings. Then percent of markup is markup over cost times 100%. That gives 172 over 203 times 100%, giving us 84.73%. You just have to complete the table. If you are given cost and markup, how do you go about the selling price? Let the selling price be an unknown, for example SP, then put it in the general formula of the markup rate, which is selling price minus cost over cost times 100%. And you do the steps slowly by slowly using algebra. For example, cross multiply and use a calculator there. Then you can also multiply each side by the LCM, which is 312 for this case. And you have that simplification in the algebra. Then divide each side by 100. Then you have 171.6 equal SP minus 312. Then you simplify further using algebra. Then you have selling price equal to 483 shillings. You just got to complete the table. If you are given the discount rate and the regular price, how do you get the selling price? Use the general formula, which is selling price equal regular price times 100 minus discount rate over 100. Then you substitute the values there. When you substitute the values there, you divide and you finally arrive at 1,379,540. Then simplify further for the second part. You have 23 as the rate. You substitute in the rate and the amount, and finally you have 3,782,625. How have you completed the table? Just insert the figures there and you have the table complete. What do you do when you have the selling price and discount rate and you need to find the regular price? Use the general formula that we looked at earlier. Selling price equal to regular price times 100 minus discount rate over 100. Then let the RP equal to the regular price because you don't know what it's equal to. Then substitute the values there, substitute the selling price and the rate, and you arrive at 63,068.18 as the regular price for the first case. Then for the second case, substitute the 360,000 and the 20% as the rate. Then you simplify the equation and you have 450,000. Once again, how do you complete the table? Just insert the figures in there and the table is complete. If you have the principal, the simple interest rate and the time, how do you get the interest earned? Just use the general formula that principal times rate over 100 times time is equal to the interest. Therefore, when you substitute the values there, 900,000 and 9% and 5, then you have 405,000 for the first case. For the second case, you substitute the 4,200,000 and the 3.5%, over 100, then times 1.5 as the time, then you have 220,500 as the interest. Put the values in the table there and you have the table complete. When using compound interest, how does it go? Hope you recall the method we used for compound interest. That is principal into 1 plus rate, power time, minus principal. That is the interest, compound interest. Therefore, if we have 6.6 million and 4% as the rate, then we have to divide the rate by 100 to get 0.04, and the time is 2 years. Therefore, we substitute in the formula and we have 538,560 as the interest under compound interest. For the second part, 6.3 million into 1 plus 0.075 power 3 minus 6.3 million. Because the 3 is the time and the 7.5% is divided by 100 to make it a rate. Then we substitute and we simplify. Then we have 980,437.5 shillings as a compound interest. How do you complete the table? Once again, just put in the values. At this point, we are using quarters and we have the beginning balance, the rate per year, and the interest earned, and the ending balance. Therefore, complete the table. In quarters, we use the first formula, which is interest is principal times rate times time, and the ending balance is principal plus interest. For the first time, we use the first quarter. The original balance is $500, and therefore multiplied by 0.045 and multiplied by a quarter, which is the period, and we arrive at 5.63. Then add that 5.63 to the 500 to get the ending balance. For the second quarter, use the 505.63 that you ended with in the first quarter, then apply to the second quarter, multiply it by the interest rate and the time, which is a quarter. Then you get 5.69 as the interest, and the ending balance is the amount you began with in the second quarter, which is 505.63, plus the interest you got in the second quarter, which is 5.69. Repeat that process repeatedly for the third quarter and the fourth quarter, and finally you arrive at the answer. How do you fill the table? Simply put in those values and finally you have the table well filled. You should be very careful in reading the questions thoroughly, understanding them, putting the required units and rounding to the required decimals and significant figures. Thank you so much. By the end of this video, you can handle the different concepts like percentages, decimals and ratios and fractions, and evaluating and rounding off and profit and markup and interest. In case you have any questions and suggestions, put them in the comment section below. Thank you and see you soon.